Thanks, Norm. I'm here in Kennesaw standing at the site of a recent fire. According to recent FBI statistics, arson is on the rise. In 2007, there were 33,000 intentionally set structure fires and 20,000 intentionally set vehicle fires. Together, these fires resulted in over 300 deaths, over $700 million in property loss. The primary motive? Debt relief. Arson is one of the most costly man-made disasters. It indirectly contributes to increased insurance premiums, higher medical costs, lost jobs, lost income, and the increased cost of fire services. What exactly is arson? Arson is defined as the crime of maliciously or intentionally starting a fire causing an explosion. In the state of Georgia, there are 3 degrees of arson. Although each require different elements and carry different penalties, they're all felonies and punishable by up to 20 years in prison. Investigating fires is one of the most difficult of the forensic sciences to practice. Unlike most forensic disciplines, even the basic question of whether a crime has been committed is not normally obvious. For example, an entire process must be undertaken just to determine if the fire is arson. This is often difficult because the fire often destroys the key evidence of its origin and cause. Many fires are caused by defective equipment, such as faulty electrical circuits or poor maintenance. Car fires can be caused by faulty fuel lines or electrical failures. Spontaneous combustion is possible where organic waste are stored. A fire investigator looks at the fire's remains and obtains information to reconstruct the sequence of events leading up to the fire. One of the challenging aspects of fire investigation is the multidisciplinary basis of the investigator's job. Fires can be caused by many common artifacts. So fire investigators need to know not only the basics of fire science behavior, but knowledge of many different areas of study. Areas such as building construction, basic electricity, appliances, human fire behavior, vehicles, and many more. For example, if there's a gas appliance in the origin of a fire, an investigator should know enough about gas appliances to either include or exclude it as a possible cause of the fire. Fire investigators must also know their own limitations, call in experts when needed, areas of electricity, heating and air systems, or other systems that might cause a fire. Well, as you can see, fire investigation can be quite complex. And today we just covered the basics of the investigation. Here in Cobb County, we have 5 full-time investigators, all certified law enforcement officers, firefighters, and some EMTs. In future episodes, we're going to take a closer look at the techniques used in a fire investigation. Back to you, Norm.
You know, obviously, house fires create quite a mess. And you know, you throw in the smoke and then the water damage from the firefighters putting out the flames and oh man, what a mess. It's just amazing to me that the fire investigators can dig through all that junk and determine what the conditions were like that led up to that house fire. They truly are the finders of the little bitty flame. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at how firefighters get better at dealing with unusual circumstances. Welcome back to Third Alarm. You know, earlier we saw how to go about removing a trapped victim from a vehicle accident. You know, we do a lot of accidents and EMS calls, but we still are a fire department. And the very nature of uncontrolled fires dictates that we'll face unusual challenges and circumstances. Right now, let's visit our training facility and Lieutenant Russell Wood as he goes about showing us how firefighters train to face even those unusual situations.
Thanks, Norm. We're out here at the Cobb County Training Facility, and if you happen to hear some gunfire in the background, that's because we share our training facility with the police officers. I'm out here today with Captain Scott Malkin from Station 19. Scott, exactly what happens when you try to do a rescue on a fire?
Well, traditionally what we do in a rescue situation is we'll take a crew of a specific number of firefighters with hose lines, make entry into the fire building, and the crews will, using a combination of hose lines to attack the fire and searching of the interior rooms of the building. That's how we traditionally conduct a search and rescue in the fire business.
Out here today, I've noticed these crews, they're not really doing the traditional rescue. They're doing something outside the box. What is it?
Well, what we're doing today is working on a technique that's not new to the fire service, but is fairly new to Cobb County. It's called Vent, Enter, and Search, or VES for short.
This VES, can you explain to us exactly how it goes?
Sure. Basically, what happens is we consider it a more of an advanced technique, whereby we actually make entry into a upper level window of a burning structure to effect a rescue without the use of a hose line. It's all about speed in VES, and by dragging a hose line around, which is a little bit cumbersome and kind of slows us down. So what we do is we bring a ladder to the window that we're going to be going into, raise the ladder, and actually using the tip of the ladder, we'll take the glass out of the window and let the initial smoke and heat that may be in that room that's built up escape from the room. We'll raise the ladder, and one firefighter will go to the tip of the ladder, and using a tool, they'll clean out all the remaining sash parts and glass that may be in the window. At that point, they'll take their thermal imaging camera, which we have on every one of our trucks in Cobb County now. And using the thermal imaging camera, they'll scan the interior of the room, looking for heat levels inside the room, looking for any victims that may be in the room, and looking for the door. And the door is very important because once they make entry, that's going to be the key to VES. After they've scanned the room with the thermal imaging camera, they'll take a tool and use the tool to beat on the floor right inside the window and make sure that the floor is stable enough and sound enough for them to actually make entry and crawl around. Once they've done this, they'll actually enter the room, which is what we consider the entry portion of vent, enter, and search. Actually, removing the window is the vent portion. Now we've gone to the entry phase. Once they've entered the room, they'll go directly to the door and close the door. And what this does, in effect, it buys them a little extra time to perform their search duties inside that room by keeping the heat and smoke out of that room for a little extended period of time. Once they've got the door closed, they'll go to the victims that they found with the thermal imaging camera and remove those victims to a waiting firefighter on the ladder and search any other areas of the room that they may not have been able to see with the thermal imaging camera. And then once that's done, they'll actually rapidly get themselves out the same window, back down the ladder, and hopefully we've accomplished a rescue from this.
So this VES, is it going to be the new thing that you do on every fire?
No, VES is not going to be used on every fire. It's a specialized technique that'll be used only for certain circumstances whereby a stairwell or a typical entry door that we would normally use to go into a burning structure is either on fire, involved in fire, or maybe there's some collapsed debris that keeps the firefighters from getting in by those normal means. And only if we have a good, strong knowledge or suspicion that there's a victim actually inside that room.
Well, thank you, Scott. I just want to thank you and thank these crews for being out here and learning new ways to help protect the citizens of Cobb County. Back to you, Norm.
So whether we're pulling people from crumpled cars or searching for victims in house fires, to just becoming more proficient with our equipment, like the fire pumper, the old adage remains true. Practice does make perfect. And so we continue our journey towards, well, at least getting a little closer to perfection. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Third Alarm and maybe even learned a little bit. And you know, though a little long in the tooth structurally, Station 18 carries on through the preparedness of the men and women who walk through these doors each and every day, ready to protect and serve you. Once again, we'd love to hear from you and find out what you'd like to see on future episodes of Third Alarm. So send us an email at thirdalarm@cobbcounty.org. Well, that's about going to do it for today. You be safe out there, and we'll see you on the next Third Alarm.